Hi everyone. Today I'm going to talk about why is it so fun and useful to learn foreign languages based on my personal experiences. In my previous video on ways to learn languages even if you are not a language genius, I have explained how I memorize English and Chinese characters effectively. When I was young, I was fortunate enough to read these two books, which were exactly about the methodology I used to learn languages. And if you recall the video that I have posted before, you would also recall that learning these languages requires a scientific method, and it can be quite fun. Surprisingly, even the seemingly disorganized and complicated Chinese characters have principles behind them. So rather than feeling that memorizing vocabulary is a painful experience, you can actually turn it into quite interesting and intellectually stimulating experience. My first official encounter with the Chinese language came when I actually went to foreign language high school, majoring in Mandarin Chinese. At that time, I thought I would love learning Mandarin Chinese simply because I have learned Chinese characters. But it turned out that I actually did not like it. Why? Because Korean language education focuses too much on tests and rote memorization. As most of you guys are already aware, Korean education system, its sole purpose and the end goal is to go to a good university so that you can get a good job. Foreign language has become one of the tools for students to compete against, when ideally it should have been a fun and intellectually stimulating learning process and experience. So in the end, I had completely lost my interest in Chinese, only to pick it up sometime during my college. And once I had the urge to learn Chinese back, I listened to dramas, took phone Chinese classes, and HSK tests. All of these experiences made me want to go for an exchange student, and I did that exactly in 2012. I've already explained what I did in Tsinghua University, so I won't go deep into this again. I basically took part in Language Corner, did student culture exchange, took Chinese economic classes, traveled the middle part of China, and participated in a lot of activities such as translation and quiz contest. Even until now, my experience in China has been unforgettable and still the best moments in my life. I was not only able to learn the Chinese language itself, but also had an opportunity to let myself be assimilated into Chinese culture. So the Japanese, on the other hand, I had an opportunity to study hiragana and katakana, which is pretty much alphabets in English, during middle school. And then I studied for JLBT level 3 before I went to China because I had some free time to study for the language. Even then, I wasn't really sure at the time that I was going to study Japanese really ferociously. Then I went to Tsinghua University, but that time was the worst time for Sino-Japanese relationship because there was Senkaku Diaoyu Islands disputes between China and Japan. In short, historically disputed Senkaku Diaoyu Islands had belonged to China, but recently Japan has taken it. And now they're claiming that these islands belong to them. So what happened during that time in China? A lot of violent protests broke out against Japan, and I still remember when I was in Xi'an, I saw a Japanese car with a post-it on it saying that even if my car is Japan-made, my heart still belongs to China. Basically saying that please don't smash my car, because during a lot of violent protests, a lot of Japanese-made cars were burned and sabotaged. Under such circumstance, who would have thought that there are a lot of Japanese students studying in China? After seeing that there are so many Japanese exchange students in Tsinghua University, I started to think that this could be an actually great opportunity to learn Japanese. So yeah, I started taking active advantage of such opportunity by going to Language Corner, taking Japanese phone lessons in the morning before class every day, 20 minutes, just like I did with my Chinese phone classes. And most critically, I really try my best to be friends with them. So all of these efforts have really paid off, and I still feel that this has been one of my greatest achievements in my life, learning Japanese in China. So after coming back from Tsinghua, I have taken all the language proficiency tests that I needed. 汉语水平考试 for Chinese, 日本語能力試験 for Japanese. One thing I want to say about these tests is that a lot of people in Korea finish studying the language after taking tests, when the real learning takes place after finishing the test exams. All they want is to put some test scores on their job applications, and they can't speak Chinese at all. So when it comes to job application, foreign language can actually be helpful. However, there's not much need for Chinese in Singapore and Hong Kong. Of course, if you're fluent in Chinese, it will definitely be helpful, but it's not a must. So even if you don't speak Chinese well, it's fine. Well, a lot of things have happened since I was looking for a job in this area. So for example, in Hong Kong, the importance of business opportunities and clients from mainland China has become ever more important. And thus, being able to speak Mandarin Chinese is actually getting more important. On the other hand, if you're looking for a job in the United States as a foreign student, Japanese rather gives a better job prospect. Why? Because there are few Japanese living and studying in the United States when there is actually a huge demand for it. On the contrary, the language for Chinese and Korean are not that much in demand when there are millions of Chinese and Korean students studying and living in the United States. So personally, I also was helped by the fact that I am fluent in Japanese when I was looking for an internship in the United States. However, being able to speak a language does not always give you an advantage if you don't prepare it very well. But rather, it may backfire if you say that you are fluent in a certain language, yet you fail to introduce yourself in that language. And that happened to me. So when I was having an interview for Goldman Sachs, interviewer was fluent in Japanese. And when he saw that I was able to speak in Japanese on my resume, he asked me to introduce myself in Japanese. But then at that time, I wasn't fully prepared for my introduction in Japanese, so I kind of fumbled. And I'm pretty sure they gave him a very, very bad impression. So always be able to introduce yourself at any time in the language you say you are very fluent. Although being able to speak multi-languages is not really that critical when it comes to getting a job, after getting a job, it matters a lot because fluency in a language is a weapon that other people do not have. A lot of people say that if you want to survive in a company, you should be irreplaceable by someone else. And the language can be just that weapon to be irreplaceable. For me, I work for a firm in Singapore where I could use both Korean and Chinese in Singapore, not to mention English and Japanese. So if that's the case, think about how many markets I can alone single-handedly cover: China, Korea, Japan, and the entire world. And Singapore is a multi-ethnic country where English, Chinese, Malay, and Tamil, 4 languages are official language. But 76% of population is ethnical Chinese. So I would say that in Singapore, although other languages are also very important, being able to speak Mandarin is very, very important because many people talk in Chinese both at the company and on the street. And if you're an Asian, a lot of people just would assume that you're from China and they will start conversation by talking in Mandarin. And a lot of older generation are not that fluent or completely not fluent in English. So if you are able to speak in Mandarin Chinese and understand what other people say, your life in Singapore will be much more fun and interesting. So what is so good about learning a foreign language? The first thing is communication itself. I really enjoy just thinking and talking in another language other than my mother tongue. Because when you switch back and forth between different languages, you feel that your brain is getting challenged and stimulated. And also, when I speak in a language that other people don't understand, I have this guilty pleasure of not letting some other people into our conversation. Because even if it's an open talk, it's a secret talk to those who are not fluent in the language. Also, learning the language is also the same as gaining knowledge about other countries. First, you can learn a lot of interesting expressions. For example, 戴绿帽子 is a literally put on green hat in Chinese, but it denotes culturally that someone is cheating. So in China, there's no one who puts on green hat on the street. And the language is also very often reflected in culture and society. For example, you see this word 福 upside down, and 福 means happiness and luck in Chinese character. But why would you put it on upside down on the doors? That is because the Chinese word for arrive, 到, is also pronounced the same as 倒, meaning upside down. So the Chinese people are posting this word upside down on their doors during Chinese festival in the hope that luck and happiness would actually come to them. And this is one of the ways how a language can actually affect culture and society. And understanding these cultural implications could be very, very fun. Should you learn a foreign language? Would you learn a language because it is good for getting a job? Would you also learn a language because you want to put down language scores on a job application? No, you should learn a language because you are in love with those countries. Otherwise, I think Nobody has enough incentive and motivation to complete its long journey of learning a language. Who knows how long it's going to take? Then what is my ultimate motivation? Ultimately, I want to be an expert in East Asia. Now I also write articles and make videos on a variety of issues relating to Korea, Japan, China, and a lot of language issues and expressions as well. And therefore, what really keeps me going for learning foreign languages over a long period of time is that I have such an ambition to be an expert in this area. And that's how I have a lot of interest in the region, and I continue to study Chinese, Japanese, even after coming back from Tsinghua University 7 years ago. I hope my video on how I have learned my foreign language, what is so fun about it, and what has been motivation have been helpful for you to learn a foreign language for yourself as well. Next time, I'll make a video and present you guys with how Chinese characters helped the Meiji Restoration in Japan and what kind of role it played. If you had enjoyed my video, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and like my video. And thanks for your watching.